Perfect.
Okay.
Look at the color of mine. Good Lord.
What is up with that?
I think I'm in like the 7th level or something.
All right, it is 7:01, and I call this board meeting to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All members are present.
Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is there any new business to bring before the board? If there is no new business, I would seek a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved, Todd.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Emmanuel and a second by Ms. O'Neill. Roll call vote. Mr. Michael?
Aye.
Mr. Emmanuel?
Aye.
Ms. Miller Beach?
Aye.
Mr. Welch?
Aye.
Ms. O'Neill?
Aye.
Mr. Ravenhorst?
Aye.
Aye for myself. That motion carries 7-0. All right, next on the agenda is the consent agenda items, 6A through 6C. Is there any one item, or more than one item, I guess, that any one board member would like to pull off of the consent agenda? If not, I would seek a motion for the approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Ravenhorst.
I'll second, Ms. O'Neill.
I have a second by Ms. O'Neill. Any discussion or questions? All right, roll call vote. Mr. Emmanuel?
Aye.
Mr. Michael?
Aye.
Ms. Miller Beach?
Aye.
Mr. Welch?
Aye.
Ms. O'Neill?
Aye.
Mr. Ravenhorst?
Aye.
Aye for myself. That motion carries 7-0. Next on the agenda is to consider and approve the COVID-19 response and action plan staging tool. And I will hand this over to Ms. Selfers.
Thank you, Chairman Workman. So this was developed under the advisement of Olmsted County Public Health and just helps us determine what steps we would need to take and when we would need to take them. So we are in prevention in several of our buildings, and we are in mitigation in one or more of our buildings due to having confirmed cases. In each of those steps, we have specific things that we would take care of, or specific tasks. We would go to modified operations, which is stage 3, in the event that we have 20% of our students in hybrid learning or 15% of our students in in-person learning as having positive cases. We have the outline there of all the different things that would take place if that were to occur. And then the next piece is stage 4. If we need to close a facility, we identified what our positive cases of our enrollment would be, and or if we have staff absent due to being positive or in quarantine. And then the last one is district closure. So what it was, is the piece about having this put into place is we were getting questions from our staff and from our parents on how will we decide? What will be the metric? These are metrics in which we would look at each of these situations, and you can tell with the language it says may or might or those kinds of things, because nothing's hard and fast, but it does give us some guidelines to make our decisions. So once this has been reviewed by the administrative team, which we've taken care of, we've also run it by Olmsted County Public Health. I would seek board approval to add this to our safe learning plan that we have adopted in August.
I read through it in detail, just like the school district can relate with everything that's constantly changing, and I thought it was excellent to put out there so that when we are getting those questions, you can, another place to just direct parents to look.
And to inform the parents, what I would do is include this in the family update this week. So those are apparently getting pretty good review. You know, I'm hearing back from several parents when I send those out. So I would include it in the weekly update or the family update so that they're aware of how these decisions would be made.
And Ms. Selters, you have worked with the public health department for the cutoffs and
Yep.
when to go from one stage to the next.
And the caveat that they had is this is just a guideline for making those decisions. Nothing's hard and fast because there are extenuating circumstances that can take place. But this would be our guide to start with making those decisions.
Mr. Emmanuel?
Yeah,
Did
I was
you,
just,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's very clean, clear, concise, very easy to read and understand. And if there's no other questions, I would motion to approve this.
I would second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Emmanuel and a second by Ms. O'Neill. Are there any other questions or comments? For Ms. Selfers?
Sorry, Belinda,
Yes.
Ms. Selfers, how would you let us know this if you were making a change?
So that would be immediately after Olmsted County or Minnesota Department of Health gives us guidance and direction. I would communicate with the board via email about what the plan is. I typically text you to check your email. In that text, I would say it was urgent that you take a look at that. Because it's usually going to be a very timely decision. Staff would be next, and then families would be immediately after that. But I would imagine that that will be a very short timeline. So from the time that I get off the phone with Olmsted County and Minnesota Department of Health until families are notified, I want to make that timeline as small as possible. In the family update that I sent this last Friday, it will likely be less than a 12-hour notice in any of these situations. So, and that's just due to the fact of the amount of time that it takes to get all of the data analyzed. And I don't have all the data, so the data lies with other agencies. But that timeline is going to be very, very quick. So by the time you get to your email, it may be that I'm already sending out the Skylark message to families.
And then what will be the way we get them back if the numbers start moving?
So that's also a county health decision guide direction. They will want things to settle down, and typically that's going to be a 14-day window. And if our kids are under control, we may be able to come back after that 14-day window. But if they're not, if they continue to have community spread or school spread, even though we are out, then that timeline will be extended.
And then just one more question. I know you said at one point that there was like some kind of committee that was supposed to be put in place for this.
Yeah.
Can you comment on that?
That has not taken place. Right now, our COVID, myself and Sheila Gossman, who's the Human Resources Coordinator. So right now, working with County Health is that team and myself. So we're managing everything right now. We haven't had the need to expand that beyond where we are right now. You know, in the event that we have to make a quick turnaround decision, it's likely because we need to notify our parents of our status so that they can make plans for their families. So the shortness of the decision-making timeline is just that. It's because we want our families as much time as possible to make those decisions and make their plans.
Thank you.
Good questions. Anything else?
Ms. Alfreds, would you be comfortable providing just some update on other districts in the area? It sounds like, I don't know anything for a fact, but that there's been a lot of movement from virtual to online, sort of all over the place. We're starting to hear more and more of it. Is that, but yet I don't know if any of it's true or not.
There are circumstances in other districts that they've had to make pivots from one learning model to another. And it's solely due to either the number of cases that are in the district or in a building, and or staff and students who are in quarantine within a building or within the district. So in my last email to the families and to the staff and to you, I explained that our data right now is very self-contained. I mean, we are doing very, very well in managing our situations. But we do use several points of data. One is the county case rate. Another one is the zip code case rate. And then the last one is the school district community case rate. And all three of those play a role in how we make these decisions. So it's not just one number, it's several. And managing all that data, all we have a handle on is the school community case rate or quarantine rate. I don't have that zip code data unless I go out and grab it from the county public health. And I don't have the county case rate unless I go out and grab it. And so they help me with the most recent data possible. And every school district has different situations, different circumstances. So I think that we're gonna, as we move into the winter season, we're gonna see school districts moving in and out of different plans and models based on their circumstances. And it could be very, very frequent.
Okay, yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Elvers. I have a motion by Mr. Emanuel and a second by Ms. O'Neill. Great comments, great questions. If there are no other discussions, comments, or questions, I will do a roll call vote. Mr. Michael.
Aye.
Mr. Emanuel.
Aye.
Ms. Miller Beach.
Aye.
Mr. Welch?
Aye.
Ms. O'Neill?
Aye.
Mr. Ravenhorst?
Aye.
Aye for myself. That motion is 7-0. Okay, next on the agenda is to consider and approve the school calendar revision for 2021. And I'll hand this over to Ms. Selfridge again.
Yes. So, I'm bringing this to you on a recommendation from the administrative team, and I believe the Sioux leadership reached out to you as well in support of this. Did you receive an email? Okay, did not, none of you did? Oh, okay, okay. So, Sioux leadership did work with me on this as well. Based on a staff survey, we are hearing from them that, there is quite a bit of pressure to do the tasks that they've been asked to do with our learning plan. And in order to do that, we are seeking that the board would approve us to provide more time for them to get the work done that we're asking them to do. The proposal is that we would keep the PLC early releases that are already on the calendar.
And during those early releases, teachers will collaboratively with their peers. You'll hear from them at the next board meeting that our focus this year is going to be in increasing student engagement. So we're going to kind of suspend all other kinds of efforts and really focus on student engagement. It's one of the concerns that staff have in regard to the learning plan that we have right now. On those early release days, paras would be provided time for staff development training and or they would give support for Tiger Time childcare. Those 4 dates were already on our calendar and they had been approved by the board last spring. What we're seeking is additional early release time, and during this time, teachers would be given time to plan for the delivery of instruction for students in multiple education settings. So I'll use the middle school, high school as an example. Teachers are teaching to students who are in their classroom. Teachers are teaching at the same time to cohort students who are at home. And then also they're teaching to flex students who are home all the time. And so creating lessons that meet the needs of all 3 students in all 3 settings has proven to be much more challenging than what we had thought. So the plan looked really, really good on paper, but in practice, it's much more challenging than what we had anticipated. We also want to provide them with time to engage with students who are doing the Family Flex learning model. Right now within their day, there's not really an opportunity for them to connect with them one-on-one or respond to the kinds of questions that they might have. So this would give them some time during the week to do that. We also want to give them time to communicate with parents and families regarding student progress, engage in technology training to optimize the use of technology tools. This was also something that came up from our request for feedback. They're using technology in many different ways than what they're used to doing. And so we want to provide them with opportunities to be trained in how to optimize their use of technology so that it works when it needs to. We also want to give them time to collaborate with their colleagues for the implementation of strategies for student engagement, and then completing any other professional tasks or responsibilities that are appropriate. Preschool screening is a major concern, and staffing it is our issue. So our preschool screening, so during this time, preschool para staff would support the preschool screening, which would be scheduled on these Fridays. Provide Tiger Time childcare based on need. The K-12 special ed para staff would support the special ed teachers and students, either doing virtual one-on-one meetings or supporting the teachers in any way that they need. The K-12 Title I and AON paras would provide Tiger Time childcare based on need. And then the dates are all, so they're the Fridays of any full week of school through the end of the year. I also included some schedules. So students for preschool that usually come on Friday afternoons would be scheduled to Friday morning. Kindergarten would be on campus with dismissal at 12:30, and the grades 6 through 12 would all be at home live streaming with dismissal at 1:15. Teachers for the preschool would be on campus on this early release day. They're either doing PLCs or they're assisting with the preschool screening. So we would be assigning the preschool paras and the preschool teachers to do preschool screening so that we could get screening done instead of doing it on the full days with volunteers. Kindergarten through grade 5 teachers are either doing PLC or the planned prep time with the times noted, and then grades 6 through 12 are doing PLC or planned prep time at the times noted. Para staff, grades 6 through 12 paras will coordinate with special ed teachers, provide virtual support for students during live stream classes during the school day. For the early release time, the information about their work assignments is noted up here under bullet points 2, 3, 4. So that's the proposal. What we're seeking is just more support for our staff to do the work that they're doing. One of the comments that we received in our feedback is we're all first-year teachers this year because nobody's doing what they've done before. This is all brand new for every staff member. And so the learning curve is steep, and we want to just be able to provide the time for them to do the best work. Okay? So questions, comments?
Miss Elpers,
Yes.
I just wanted to re-clarify in my mind, because thank you for explaining that, because when I first looked at that, and when I first looked at it on my own, the dates fell under para, so I was a little, I know know it's not indented there, but my eyes kind of drew me to
Oh.
that sentence above it, and I was
Sure,
a little confused. So
okay,
I think, from what I understand, every one of those dates is the entire school district.
Yes.
It kind of fell underneath the,
Yeah.
I saw Title I and para, and so it confused me, but I think what you said tonight explains it very well. Every one of those Fridays will be an early release for the entire district. And
yes,
middle school, high school will be all remote on those Fridays, correct?
I should clarify too, the caveat is, if we go back to in-person learning district-wide, where everybody's on campus and we're all back to normal, the early release Fridays would be discontinued, because we wouldn't have a need for them. To be fully honest and forthright, I don't see that happening this year. I think that we are gonna be in some way, shape, or form on a modified calendar, schedule, COVID plan, and wearing masks and doing social distancing and all those kinds of things for several months, if not an entire year, so.
Okay, so I understand it much better now, and
Okay,
I think this is a great plan for the staff as well as the students. It gives kind of everyone a little bit of a break and maybe a reset and some time back to do other things or gather their thoughts or kind of reset, I guess, before Monday comes again. So I think this is really a good suggestion, and I certainly support it.
thank you.
Ms. O'Neill?
I had a couple questions. First being, I agree, a reset is nice, but then in a way I was thinking when I read this that it's kind of going backwards, because we're taking kids that would normally be going maybe 3 days a week and taking them all down to 2 days a week for that 6th through 12th grade. So I felt like, so many people are saying, when will we get to go back? When will we get to go back? Well, obviously we know that that's probably not going to happen this year, like you said, but now we're just taking another day of the in-classroom away from them. So that was one of my comments, which I want to support staff in what they need to, but I also want to support our students. And the thing that worries me a little bit is I would really like to know what special ed thinks, because personally having a child with an IEP, that in-classroom time is so important, especially at the 6th through 12th grade, that taking another day of that in-person learning away, I feel like some of those special ed students are going to struggle. So that was one of my concerns. So I kind of just wanted to know, I know you said that this was put together by staff, but I'd really like to know what special ed thinks, because consistency in routine is huge for those students.
So what we did for the special ed is, we're allocating all of the special ed paras to the special ed staff to make those individual connections with kids, which we did not do last spring. So that was a big hole that we had. And so all of the special ed paras will be assigned to the special ed case managers, to especially at the middle school, high school, to group the students into smaller groups, and the special ed paras and the special ed teachers will be working with those students virtually, so that they're not having those holes happen with those students. I think that utilizing our para staff who know these kids and their needs very, very well in that way is going to make sure that we support special ed students in that regard. Right now, the special ed para staff on the days when we're in school are working with students who are on campus. So they don't get a chance to work with the students that are virtual. This would make sure that all kids who are virtual are getting a connection with staff who can support them at home. So that'll be the biggest difference between a Tuesday, Thursday when you're at home, or Friday when you're at home.
Okay, and then, so then what about like for the K through 5 kids that just did, please correct me if I'm wrong, but they just, at the beginning of the year, they did, is it the FAST testing? Yep, to see their reading and math scores. So they did those, the teachers have those results now. And what about those kids that aren't excelling and aren't in the red, that need help? Just those ones that are floating, that are kind of, ooh, we need to keep an eye on these, like by taking you're cutting their day an hour and a half, condensing their classes to be shorter in person. Are they still gonna get what they need by taking another day out of the week?
That'll have to be something that's addressed by Mr. McEnroy and Mr. Johnson with their staffs and making sure that we're doing what's needed for students. Our current plan is definitely very student-focused and family-centered, very much. At this point, knowing what we know about how the teachers are addressing the challenges, I think we also have to prioritize the staff needs as well.
Which I agree with too, I just really worry about it, yeah.
The way I kind of see it, it's, I mean, kind of like the airplane analogy, that if the staff is struggling, then, I mean, if the students are struggling and if the staffs are struggling, then there's no way that they can address them or help them if they don't help themselves first. You know, kind of, you know, the airplane, they say, take the oxygen yourself, then give it to your kids. But, yeah, no, I agree with almost everything
Those are all
you're saying.
very valid concerns.
But, yeah,
I think, in order for the staff to do their best work, I want to make sure that we're doing everything possible to keep them as healthy as possible. And at this point, we haven't really gotten into a situation where we have a lot of quarantining or a lot of positive cases. Once that starts ramping up, and I'm going to probably be forthright again when that starts ramping up, the level of stress and anxiety is going to increase because you're going to have more students at home and teachers trying to make sure that all those needs are being met. And so this is a balance. It's not a complete day off. Virtual for K-12, which many districts are doing. They're taking the Wednesday, no one comes to school, the entire day Wednesday. This is a compromise between that and having everybody here the way they are right now.
Is it possible to also add in, that we can also tell parents that maybe on all those Fridays starting this week, that,
It starts November 13th.
oh, sorry, but October, we're already off this Friday, so.
Yeah, right.
But, that maybe as a district, are we gonna be doing extra cleaning in the building since no students are gonna be in there, or is there gonna be like something else going on for 6 through 12? We could do extra cleaning, I mean, since no, especially with flu season coming.
Yes, yeah, the custodial staff are thrilled because we're gonna be able to get to those high-touch surfaces in a more efficient manner than we are right now. And resetting every Friday for the cleaning, that it would be ready for the next Monday is definitely something that they're looking at, and how they're gonna staff that is another priority.
Okay. Thank you, that's all my questions.
Yep.
Nicole, one statement in to align with what you were saying, I would advise the administration to be, I know they have a lot of things on their plate, but to really be looking at summer school in a different light this year. If what Nicole is saying is true, I don't have children of that age anymore, but if parents have that concern, I think we should be looking at doing something a little different with summer school that allowed those children to get more time, you know, some makeup time or the opportunity to, you know, fill in some of those gaps, if you will. So it's just a thought going forward.
I think that's an excellent idea. I'm really hoping that summer school can be on campus this summer. And then we could run multiple sessions. That's an excellent idea.
Ms. Elfers and
Yes.
the story. I'm a little bit, I mean, I think I understand completely the extra focus that the teachers need in the different areas. Are they seeing a lot of, I mean, where are they feeling like they're having the inadequacy? Is that with the kids that are online, or is that with the kids that are in class, or is it just managing everybody together? And then the other thing is I'm concerned a little bit with Friday afternoon, you know, with people working and having kids that are young. I mean, are you gonna basically then have every parent leave their place of work every day at noon to try and get home and take care of this? And that's the other piece I'm a little concerned about is the daycare piece for especially the younger kids, if you can speak on that.
So in regard to the challenges, we had sought staff feedback on how the first month had gone. I believe I shared with you many of the comments that were provided. The challenges are managing all of the new requirements that we have for grade 6 through 12, navigating 3 different educational settings every single hour, every single day. We have 10 teachers at the elementary level, whether they're at Bonner or over here at Central or at Bear Cave, who are teaching in 2 different rooms at the same time. So they're teaching in one room and then simulcasting to another room with a para in that room to supervise the students. The amount of work that goes into simulcasting and then making sure that students are on task in both rooms is a challenge for those staff. In some cases, we have special ed teachers who are teaching in person and flex every single day. So there's more that we're asking our staff to do than we anticipated was going to be a significant challenge or hurdles. So the plan looked amazing on paper, but the devil's in the details, and that's where the implementation glitches have been. What they're asking for is more time to plan, more time to collaborate, more time to learn about the technology tools that they're using. I'll speak to the elementary day. They have students in the room starting at 7:30 a.m. until 2 p.m. Typically, the only time that they would not have their students is during a 30-minute lunch, which students eat in the classroom. So even if the teacher's trying to work at their desk, they do not have an opportunity to be alone in their rooms during lunch. And then we also, elementary teachers have a 30-minute block of when students are getting music or art, which is many times in their classroom. So just being able to have time to think about what I need to do, when I need to do it, who needs attention, who needs to be supported. At 2 o'clock, they do have prep, but to be honest, I think at 2 o'clock, they go into recovery mode and just trying to gather themselves from the full day that they've had and then prepare themselves to do it all again tomorrow. So this is going to provide them with some time to give themselves some ability to ground their work and address the challenges that they have. Insofar as the daycare, for any families that have children that are older, those students will already be at home because they're learning at home that day. So the students would normally get out of school at 2. We're asking the board to approve that they be released at 12:30. So the students are getting out of school an hour and a half earlier than planned on Fridays. Tiger time, if you're already in Tiger time will be available during that time. And as far as the other daycare arrangements that they have, we're hopeful that they can make that work. I understand that this is a huge burden on the parents, but at the same time, I feel that it's necessary for us to have a sustainable model of having all of our kids in school the way we do right now.
And then how will we measure success or failure for this?
I would look to do another feedback opportunity, probably 2 months or 2.5 months in. We do know that there are some students who may or may not be having success right now. If those students can become focus points during this early release time, it would be, all qualitative, not quantitative likely, but qualitative kinds of data that we would collect. I think, right now, the mental health of the staff and the stress levels that they're having, the anxiety that is inherent in coming to work every day in a setting where you may or may not get sick. I really do believe that if we don't address those needs and our staff cannot be healthy, their immune systems are gonna become depressed, and we may have bigger issues down the line with other kinds of staff absences that might occur.
Thank you.
Ms. Selpers, historically, we would bring this forward, and I don't personally have any issues other than the daycare issue. I just you bring it forward and we're asked to vote on it the same day that it's brought forward. The one thing we're going to miss here is the opportunity to give parents the ability to speak to us. Now that this is out there, to see it and get their reactions to it. We're gonna see it, we're gonna prove it, and then we're gonna ask our parents to just accept it, I guess. I don't know what the rest of the board thinks, but I would love to see this wait 2 weeks and approve it after our parents would have the opportunities to reach out to their school board members and give some feedback to this.
Valid concern. I would agree with Dean that he brings up a good point.
Yeah, what would be the,
What's the
what would be the
downside?
net downside for waiting 2 weeks?
Parent notification, we were gonna begin on November 13th.
Mhm.
So I was looking to give parents a full month to make plans.
Okay.
That'd be the only downside, is being able to plan for that.
And then the flip side of that would be, it's really no different than, I shouldn't say it's no different, but and I shouldn't even joke about it, but it'd be just like us calling and saying in 12 hours, we're not gonna have school.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, they're kind of used to short notice, I feel like, and we would still be giving them 2 weeks.
I feel like they'd appreciate the 2 weeks more than they would like not having any input whatsoever.
Because at this point, it's out there, public,
Well, it's public to the
to a
teachers.
certain degree.
to
To a
the
certain
teachers.
degree, it was attached to the board agenda.
I mean, to Dean's point, if, waiting 2 weeks, however you present this to parents, to give them 2 weeks to also think about it. I don't know another way. I mean, it was on the board agenda, but not everybody looks at that. Is there a parent update that could include exactly what you explained to us, and that this is being considered, and in 2 weeks it will be discussed and voted on or considered for
Yeah, that's
approval by the board. Because you're still getting, if we approved it tonight, they're gonna get notified right away. But as Dean said, if we wait 2 weeks to allow parents to look at it, they're gonna get notified right away. So they're gonna actually have a couple weeks to think about it and maybe start planning. And then they're gonna get 2 weeks, whether it's approved or not approved. I guess it's approved, they're gonna get the 2 weeks too. So they're really getting a month.
Either way.
2 weeks to ponder it, and another 2 weeks if it's approved to, so really they have, almost 30 days to, you know what I'm saying?
Well-
Am I explaining that right?
No, I'm with you, Todd. I'm thinking the same way.
What would be the thing that you would hear from a parent that would make you make a decision not to go forward with this?
I don't necessarily know if that's what, Dean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know if that was necessarily the point and we are concerned. It was, maybe just the timeliness of getting the information and then proving it without, the parents having any way to even see it.
Right, and Lori, I remember it was you who in the meeting, and I'm not throwing this at you, I just remember you said it, was we're about doing the right thing. And I just generally believe that the parent involvement is part of doing the right thing as a board.
Courtesy.
So,
No, I agree with you, but what I'm concerned about is, like, what if we feel like the teachers need this, what is the thing that parent will, you'll get the feedback for 2 weeks, but what is the thing that a parent will say to you that will make you adjust this or change it? Will it be that they don't have daycare, or will it be that they, that they think they need to be in school more, and that will revise it based on your feedback? So I'm just, I agree that there probably are some things that parents are going to provide for us that might tweak it a little bit. But what would be the, this is more like a question to understand, what do you think the things are that are going to change it? I'm out there and be as transparent as possible, but I wonder what the things are that are gonna revise it.
Well, I don't know that there would be anything that would cause us to revise it for sure, but I don't want to prejudge what our parents might bring to us as far as there are some pretty bright people out there, pretty educated folks. They might have some good ideas that we might be able to incorporate in that we wouldn't have that opportunity if we didn't give them the chance, I guess. But again, I understand the need for it, and I just think that as a board, we're about doing the right thing. We're about involving our citizens in this kind of thing, and I would just like, that's just maybe my personal thinking on how we should do things as a board.
My only concern with waiting would be personally, a lot of times I feel like when we do get that parent feedback, we get 1 positive and 10 negatives. So I feel like we're gonna hear from the ones that necessarily don't want it to happen, where we need to take into account what our staff needs too. So I feel like if we're gonna get emails or we're gonna get people talking to us, it's gonna be the ones that have an issue with it rather than the ones that are for it.
And in those moments though, we're going to be able to listen to them.
Give a dialogue.
And have dialogue, and they're gonna know that we still haven't decided on it yet.
Okay.
Potentially.
Right.
Versus, sorry, we voted already, that's the way it is. Not that I would say that, but.
Dean's right, normally at the first meeting of the month, we review something and then the second meeting is when we vote on it. Normally. So.
So, one of the things that I see is maybe the timeliness of this, the anxiety levels of staff, and maybe giving them some relief, knowing that this is an opportunity that will be happening instead of potentially happening. I'm just throwing out an idea. So what does it look like to have this be tabled for a week instead of 2 weeks?
Want to call a special meeting? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And not let it go for 2 weeks. I mean, if we have feedback, we're gonna get it within a week, I would assume. I just don't want it to be left out there because we're trying to do a proactive approach, looking at staffing needs, keeping them healthy, making sure that we are supporting them to support our kids, keeping them in school, which is what the parents want, the community wants, the kids want, that's what we want. Because it's that waterfall effect.
I would think that we should just, if we're gonna table it, we should just wait till the next meeting like we would normally do. If we're not gonna table it, we should vote on it.
This is a tough balancing act here between, I think we all agree that the intent of the time change, the calendar change, is to the benefit of the staff, which is absolutely important, and I don't think we're in argument there. But then we have to balance some of the responsibility that we have of, we were elected here to make decisions on behalf of the public. And this would be then, granted, that's what we do. We make the decisions, but with a decision like this, it affects them pretty significantly. not to be able to share or have any input into it at all. That's a tough balancing act in my head.
Linda, can I ask one more question? What's the precedent you're setting with the union? Do we have to do anything with that to tie this in so that it doesn't continue to move forward, where this is a practice that we're keeping for future years? This is just all COVID related. How do we address that if we ever have to do like teacher negotiations or things like that?
So the calendar is not a negotiated item. There's no implication for negotiations moving forward. The calendar is set by the board. As long as it meets the requirements of the number of days for contracted, the number of days for students. There's no requirement that we have to have union approval of this. Calendar revision, as long as it meets the number of requirements, is under the authority of the board.
I mean, do you have any feedback from the teachers? Like, if we did table this for 2 weeks, would they just be in a panic, or do you think it would be something that we could? I mean, is it going to throw you off so much?
I've been working in consultation with the Sioux leadership. I think that they probably tried to send you an email in support of this proposal. Whether or not it was able to go through, I'm questioning that right now. They're very much aware of the health status of our staff right now. I don't know what the reaction will be if this gets tabled and we vote on it on October 28th. I can't project what the reaction would be.
Well, I mean,
We would keep the November 13th date as the start date, I assume, wouldn't we?
Yes, unless the board changes that.
Again, assuming that the information the rest of the board members came back with was supportive of this proposal. Has anybody seen any problem with starting on the 14th still?
No,
Say that again?
I'm sorry.
starting on keeping it the 13th.
No,
Yeah, the
Start
13th, the 14th.
I don't. It does go, like Ms. Selfer said, allowing the most amount of time we can for families to do some planning, I think is really important. And if someone, a concern that I would have is if someone didn't pay any attention to anything and all of a sudden 2 weeks prior, we shared this information with them, they're like, well, what happened here? You know, how did, you're only giving me 2 weeks notice? When in reality, that isn't necessarily the case, but there's gonna be someone where that's gonna happen.
At least it gets it in the newspaper for one week, which is really sort of our megaphone, if you will, to reach out to everybody.
Well, I would include it in my family update this Wednesday. So it
As
is,
a proposal.
right, if the parents are reading their emails, they will get the information this Wednesday in the family update.
So I still think that if they're not getting until Wednesday, we should wait till the next board meeting to vote.
I would agree.
I would agree.
Because maybe they don't check their email until Friday, you know?
I personally don't see myself not voting for this. I can't think of anything that a parent would come up with, but then again, I just don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I'm worried about. There may be some really bizarre thing that I am not finding out or hearing about. And I just don't think it would be responsible of me to not at least give that a chance to come forward. Like I said, I would love the teachers to know I don't see myself not voting for this. Given a couple weeks. But I just feel like it's the right thing to do, like Dean said, Lori said, or whatever, to at least give them a heads up that this is what we're gonna plan on voting on.
Because when we, correct me if I'm wrong, when we do normal calendar building, is that kind of public prior to us voting on it?
It's on one board agenda and then we vote on it
Yeah,
the next.
right.
So there is, opportunity for the public to see and provide input.
I think as I only have high school kids, I would be able to vote on this tonight. What I am concerned about is these younger kids here. So I need somebody who has younger kids to give me some feedback about what their thoughts are on this. No, I think all kids that I know or show up at my house could manage this perfectly fine. And I understand the keeping track of everyone. You know, they have great teachers there that keep track of all the kids. And I don't think the behavior piece is the hard piece with that. But I need somebody to give feedback about the other kids, especially from a parent standpoint, like what the burden will be on the parents, I guess is the thing. I recognize that having good teachers, I mean, I was a stay-at-home mom. Being a good mom makes you better for your kids. So I get the teachers, you know, supporting the teachers thing a lot. It will make them better teachers for the students, which ultimately is our ultimate goal right here with the weird year we're having. But I'm going to need somebody who has small kids to think about that.
So, okay, I think my sense is that I think the entire board is in support of this, but I also understand maybe, you know, providing a pre-information, and Belinda, you have so much going on, but you craft emails so well that I think there's a potential that you could put an update in there and exactly explain why this is coming up, that staff need this to provide the best education for these students, whether they're in person or at home. And exactly how this came up, the reasoning behind it, I would make sure that is in an update so that they understand why, and that the board would be considering this for approval at the next board meeting. Well, you know, however you want to word that we wanted to give families sort of a, you know, I don't like the word heads up isn't the right term, but something like that. So that you had a chance to just look at it, understand why this is being looked at. The board is in support of it, but has not approved it yet. And on the other side of it, the same message to the staff. The board understands this and is in support of this for the reasons that they brought this forward. We just wanted families to review it, or however you want to word it. You know, you do a very good job of wording those updates, and obviously the staff and parents, and something, the combination too, so that they understand that this is coming from the parent side. The board supports it, and the staff side, the board, from what my sense is, we support this, and that we just want to provide the community and the parents an opportunity to just chew on it a little bit so that they're ready for it.
Yeah, so I would make a motion to table and vote on the calendar revisions for 2020 and 2021 at the next board meeting on Monday, October 26th.
Linda, I know you're going to make this this message is going to be, it's going to come across in such a way that people are going to understand. You know, the staff will understand why we're just tabling it for 2 weeks, and the parents get some time, because you know you do a good job at that, and I appreciate that.
I don't know about this.
Thank you for your vote of confidence.
I would second Todd's motion. Was it
Ms.
Todd?
O'Neill.
So I have a motion from Ms. O'Neill and a second from Mr. Michael. All right. So the motion is to table the calendar revision for 2021. So I will do a roll call vote if there are no other discussion points.
Thank you for the great discussion, everybody.
Mr. Michael,
Aye.
Mr. Emmanuel,
Aye.
Ms. Miller Beach,
Aye.
Mr. Welch,
Aye.
Ms. O'Neill,
Aye.
Mr. Ravenhorst,
Aye.
aye. That motion carries 7-0. So we'll bring that back to our meeting on the 26th.
26.
Is it 26?
Is it the
It's the
26th?
12th today.
Oh, I thought it was the 14th.
2 weeks is the
Oh my
26th.
God. Oh my gosh. Oh,
All right.
great, cool.
And the last item on the agenda is adjournment.
So moved, Ms. O'Neill.
I have a motion from Ms. O'Neill,
Second.
second from Mr. Ravenhorst. Mr. Michael,
All right,
Mr. Emmanuel,
Aye.
Ms. Miller Beach,
Aye.
Mr.
You already got me.
Mr. Welch,
Aye.
Ms. O'Neill,
Aye.
Mr. Ravenhorst,
Aye.
aye. The motion carries 7-0. And we are done at 7:57. Have a great night, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Todd and I have similarities.
I wrote Todd down here twice.
What?
Just talking about how you're both bald.
I don't have that.